welcome back to Room 237. Recently I wrapped up my reviews of all the 80s slasher films that I own. I do plan on getting more, obviously, and soon, and I'll review them as they come. But I have realized that the next logical step would be, since I have some that I haven't got to already, the Renaissance slashers. And for those that don't know what those are, or if they never heard that term, came out around the mid 2000s. Slashers that were not like the slashers that were coming out, which were still kind of what was left over from Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. And they were heavily inspired by the 70s and 80s slasher films. They paid tribute, paid homage, and actually tried to make them the same way they did in the 80s. Try to make them look, sound, feel, really bring back the 80s slashers. Now, some obvious ones that I'm sure people know, like, these I haven't done yet, but Hatchet, great example. Probably the biggest example. But I do have all three. I still need to get Victor Crowley, even though I heard that's not a good movie. So I will get to those. I will get to Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. I will get to Stitches, which, yes, is one. And I've already done Hills Run Red and Gutter Balls, which I'm not a fan of. And probably my favorite of the bunch, Terrifier, which I have reviewed. I'm a huge fan of. Art the Clown is probably my favorite new horror icon. This is lovely. Very excited for Terrifier 2. But, so aside from those, I figure I'd start with what, as far as my knowledge goes, might be the first I could think of, which is from 2004. It spawned a prequel, and it had a sequel that just came out in, I think, 2018. It's a movie that I often forget that I own, and it is 2004's Malevolence. And yes, normally I don't do upgrades to Blu-rays, but writer, producer, editor, director Stephen Maida, Stephen Maida, he self distributed the whole trilogy, both in singles and together as a box set on Blu-ray. And this is a really crappy DVD that I've had for at least a decade, so I may upgrade, because I just watched it for the third time. First time I saw it was about a decade ago. I don't even think I finished it. I just wasn't into it. I was trying to find the most brutal, bloody slashers. I think I had just seen Hatchet for the first time around that period. So I was looking for something, that gory, that fun. And I had heard that this was kind of controversial because of its depiction of violence. I don't even think I finished it the first time I saw it. Then I saw it again, maybe 4, 5, 6 years later, and I appreciated it more, but it still wasn't a movie I loved. But, so I just rewatched it again for the third time just now, and I actually like this movie a lot. I really do. Like I said, 2011, it got a prequel, which is called Bereavement, which both of these I always had a hard time remembering what happens, so this one is definitely going to be a refresher. But this I definitely appreciate a lot more the third time around, and I could definitely, it's certainly obvious what its influences are. And that is one thing that's fun about these Renaissance slashers, is a lot of times their influences are very obvious. I mean, you look at Hatchet, I mean, Friday the 13th and Madman. Certainly those two made Hatchet. Here it is certainly Friday the 13th Part 2, Halloween, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, there's nods to Psycho, there's nods to The Shining, which also, when I get to wherever it is. When I get to Behind the Mask, a big portion of that video is going to be all the Easter eggs that's in this, because this movie is just a giant basket of Easter eggs. Very fun film. I know this review's kind of all over the place. Oh, I really wish I watched that featurette before I did this, but anyway. So yeah, watching this, I mean, all the way down to the music, it has some of the same music cues of the Halloween films. Just the way the killer is. Even the new Blu-ray, that's like all blue, and you see the killer kind of standing over the house. Looks just like, very reminiscent of the cover to The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which the killer does wear a white sack over his head that, yes, Jason did wear in Friday the 13th Part 2. I thought the killer looked more like the killer in The Town That Dreaded Sundown. But he does have the black jumpsuit, like Michael Myers. Has a lot of music cues, like Halloween. But I will get to all that. Oh, the music was even done by Stephen Mina as well. So that makes sense. I mean, it probably sounds a lot like Halloween, because that's what he was trying to do. Sorry I'm stuttering so much. But yeah, you take like Friday the 13th Part 2, at least the first two Halloweens, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but give it like similar to a From Dusk Till Dawn setup. You know, like the bank robbers taking hostages, going to this one place, and then everything goes off the rails. It is slower paced at first, but it does have a lot of atmosphere to it. In fact, it was shot by, hopefully I can pronounce this correctly, Tsuyoshi Kimoto, who had done a lot of documentaries for A&E. It does have a very documentary, low-budget type look to it. I would actually compare the look similar to like a Wolf Creek, which I really enjoyed. I don't know if you would call that a Renaissance slasher or not. Probably not. But it stars Brandon Johnson, Samantha Dark, Heather McGee, Keith Chambers, and Courtney Bertoloni. And apparently, I've tried looking into this, but I can't really find anything except for one website. The guy that plays the killer, Jay Cohen, who actually plays the killer in this, and the one that just came out in 2018, which is called Malevolence 3 Killer. He came back to play the killer again. I guess he just passed away since 2018. I've tried to look it up to see if that's true, but I can't really find anything, like I said, except for this one website. And I really do plan on going out and buying the third film, because I guess he willed that film too, because he does, like, you look at the credits, Stephen Mina does just about everything. And he raised the money himself, kind of like he did with this. He wrote the script around 95. It says the budget was $200,000, but I also read that the budget started at $70,000. And then by the time they went into pre-production, it was $200,000. And he wanted to tackle the idea of nature versus nurture when it comes to becoming a serial killer. Because the story is, you know, we get this caption that says, in 1989, a 6-year-old Martin Bristol was abducted from his home. And we see the serial killer brings this young boy who has a scar on his face from the killer. He's brought back to the killer's slaughterhouse. It's like an abandoned slaughterhouse, which was shot in a real abandoned slaughterhouse, where he's got this young woman tied up, and he makes the boy watch him kill her. Now, this movie goes more into that, like his upbringing and how he becomes a killer. But then we jump 10 years later to 99. You have this boyfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend's brother, this other friend. They're all playing in this bank robbery. We don't see the bank robbery, thankfully. It's kind of like a Reservoir Dogs. It's like you see them go in, and then it's over. uh, the girlfriend, brother, and boyfriend, they're in a car. The other guy with the money is in a different car. They have to get to this rendezvous point, this old, dilapidated country house. The guy with the money has car problems. He goes to steal this van, but it has a mom and her young teen daughter in it, so he takes them hostage. Get to the country house, and nearby is the abandoned slaughterhouse where the killer is. And from there, it becomes a stalk and slash film. It's mostly built on atmosphere. It's not a super bloody film. I mean, it has some. It's not overly bloody or gory. It's probably more comparable to Halloween than Friday the 13th in that regard. But when you do get a kill, I mean, it is like he stabs like 20 times. He moves a lot like Michael Myers. Again, he's got the jumpsuit. He's got the white sack. And that's basically the movie. It does have good atmosphere. You really get the feeling you're out in the middle of nowhere. It's very country dark. If I had one complaint that I think would have helped the atmosphere more, is it really likes its music stings. I mean, there are setups that are straight up from Halloween. Like the boyfriend and girlfriend, who's Julian and I can't remember the girlfriend's name. Doesn't even have a synopsis on the back of this. Wow. Like, they walk by a window, they say something, they walk by again, and the killer's standing outside the window in the background. Just like when Laurie and Annie are on the phone together. Annie's in the kitchen in Halloween. But there's a loud music sting. I think if that music sting wasn't there, or if it wasn't as loud, because there's other pieces of music, like later on when these two characters are approaching the house, it's this lower, more ominous, like this boom, boom. If it had been more subtle like that, I think it would have been a lot more atmospheric, would have been a lot more creepy. And that really is how we see the killer kind of move around a lot, is a lot of just moving and walking around in the background with a loud music sting. I would say that does kind of hurt it a little bit. But then eventually, spoilers, I guess, but eventually it is just the boyfriend and the mother of the teenage girl, the hostage, that are left. And he decides to help her look for her daughter because her daughter was able to get free and run. The bank robber that took them hostage chases after her. They end up at the farmhouse, and that's where he gets killed. The killer takes his jumpsuit and his mask. And then we don't see the daughter again until they finally find her. When they get to the farmhouse, that's when it becomes Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, the inside of it, it's filthy, dilapidated. You can tell, like, the kitchen is, like, just a warehouse for, like, dissecting or whatever. There are scenes, like, the mom gets knocked out, and when she wakes up, she's, like, chained up, like in Chainsaw Massacre. It has that kind of vibe to it, and it does have this very natural kind of feel to it, because, like, when they find the daughter, she's upstairs in the closet, but I think she was, like, in a bag or something. And some scenes are kind of dark, but They find her. The mom's like undoing her feet and legs. The main guy's kind of backing up because his friend that abducted them was in the closet with her but dead. So he falls out. So the guy's kind of like backing up, and then the killer comes out of nowhere, grabs him, goes down to the floor. So then the mom and the daughter turn around with the flashlight, and you get this great shot of just the killer just in the beam of light, just like standing up and turned towards them. And then you just have like the camera, like he's walking towards the camera, the flashlight's on his face. He's pretty creepy looking. And I don't think it's supposed to be a twist or a reveal who the killer is. It's obvious it's the young kid who's now 17. But for a 17-year-old, he's pretty big, strong, and intimidating. There's even a Halloween-esque reveal of the killer, like his mask gets knocked off and we just see his face for like a brief second. Also, I love the shot when they first get to the farmhouse. And it's just like this shot. It looks like the camera's pulling back. Oh no, it's like zooming in towards the kitchen down this hallway. It alternates between that and the characters like walking towards the camera. So it keeps cutting back and forth between those. It's a pretty neat shot. It does have kind of a bummer thing towards the end because they do subdue the killer, Martin. Which, the name's Martin Bristol, and, oh, I can't, does it say on the back of this? No, it doesn't. But, Martin Bristol does sound like the name of a serial killer. The guy that abducted him, that the story we see in this was, last name was Sutter. I think it's Eugene or something, but sounds like a serial killer name too. But in any case, they subdue Martin. There's a few scenes that show the cops know when something's going on out there, so the cop goes to check something out. So the mom and daughter run out of the house. The guy is right behind him telling him to run, but he has his pistol. So when he runs out of the house behind him, the cop sees him, says freeze, but shoots and kills him anyway. So then that's when they link everything together. They call the FBI because it blows the door wide open on the abandoned farmhouse. It does have the Halloween type ending, because like when the cop goes upstairs to where Martin is, just the mask is left. There's no body. Even some of the parts with the FBI just reading the original killer's journal, some of that's pretty creepy. Detailing like how he kidnapped Martin and how he's gonna teach him stuff. The entry about how he's too strong. I know he's gonna do it. I know he's waiting in my closet right now. It was actually pretty creepy, especially the way the FBI agent read it. And then I do think it would have had a better ending again with the music sting. We see the mom and the daughter, they're back at their house. There's a voicemail from law enforcement saying, we hate to bother you, but we do need to ask you more questions. They did find some more personal items back at that country house, but your car keys and your wallet still haven't been found, meaning killer's gonna know where you are. And that's what happens. It has this long build-up of like, oh, is he gonna, like, she opens the fridge, is he behind it? Because it takes every other trope. But she goes to bed. Daughter says, can I lay with you? She gets in bed. We see the closet in behind, which I think was set up. I think that journal entry was meant to set this up. and we just see the closet door slide open just like that. But there's a very loud jolt of music. I'm guessing with that you had to, because it's the very ending before the end credits, so you have to have that last jump. But I would say most of the music stings either could have been more subtle or not there at all. It could have been a lot more atmospheric, especially when you see the killer in the background, like through a window. I think that would have been a lot creepier. I'm sure some people will say it ripped off or copied or stole a lot of things from Halloween and Friday the 13th. I'd probably say mainly Halloween. I mean, Friday the 13th, because it's out in the woods and he does have the sack for a mask. But everything else is purely Halloween. I mean, the way the killer moves. He is silent, but so is Jason. The way he moves, the way he stabs, his jumpsuit, the music especially. The music is definitely more John Carpenter than it is Harry Manfredini. There's even one part when they're moving through the farmhouse with the flashlight, and there's like that piano, which I don't remember what part it was in Halloween, but like a lot higher. But yeah, third time around, I went from turning it off and not being into it. A few years later, appreciating it more, but still not thinking it was anything special, to actually really enjoying it. This felt more like, imagine like an atmospheric, low budget, almost documentary feel, similar to Wolf Creek. I would probably compare this most as far as looks, feel, tone, to Wolf Creek, but with heavy influence and homage and nods to Halloween, Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't remember a lot of that in this film. I actually am curious now, because I went from thinking it's okay to actually really enjoying this and thinking it's one of the better slasher films of at least the 2000s, to maybe I'll appreciate this more. Because I think I found this film more boring, or it might be more generic than this one. As far as the Renaissance slashers that I have, I mean, I liked it way more than Gutterballs, for sure. I don't know about Hatchet. I mean, actually, if you think about it, if you put this next to Hatchet, this is like the newer Halloween, and Hatchet is like the newer Friday the 13th. This one is more atmospheric with a Michael Myers type killer. And this one is more gory with the Jason Voorhees type killer. And this one came out first. But yeah, I really came to appreciate it this time around. I went from even forgetting I had it most of the time to actually really enjoying it. I would say this is an underrated gem, especially for its time period. Other than its sequel having just come out recently, I don't think this is a movie people really talk about much. I think a lot of people, like, you see these on the shelves, I don't think people would know that they're even connected. But I am glad that the director put the Blu-ray out. And if he self-distributed it, I'll totally support an independent filmmaker, and I will upgrade, even though upgrading isn't something I generally do. But yeah, I enjoyed this film. This is definitely, and maybe that was the film that started the Renaissance or throwback slasher, because, again, by 2004, we were still getting leftovers from I Know He Did Last Summer, Valentine, Urban Legend. Actually, slashers were kind of more becoming like the Final Destination-y type movie. They were still the pretty teen slashers. But I think this is what helped it bring it back to what a good 80s slasher horror movie was. And I really enjoyed it. So that is Malevolence. Next, I'll do the prequel, Bereavement. I don't own the third film. I do plan on picking it up, but if I get to something else before then, I'll be going over the other Renaissance slashers I have. So stay tuned for those, and thank you for watching.